All right, guys. For the first time since 2013 in 1,000+ days, we are finally back in black. We're out of the red. We won a game, probably the craziest game I have ever seen against the Detroit Lions. And, well, hang on a second. We got to listen to this. Okay. We're going to let Sean get it in here.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Hey, man. And got to cut it off there. You know, in 1980, when that album came out, that was my best friend from high school, grade school and high school. His older brother had a 72 Cutlass, and that was the first song I ever heard blasting out of a car stereo in 1980. And man, it just hit me right here. So yeah. I've always been partial to that album, that whole album. So I got stories about college involving that album. I got lots and lots of stories involving AC/DC and Back in Black. But anyway, welcome guys to Under the Dome. And yes, we are back in black. We're at a point in the season now where conceivably we can make a serious run at the NFC South title. Because as you guys all know, we won that crazy game against the Detroit Lions. Aaron Rodgers was knocked out probably for the entire season. We play the Packers next week. And then, Tampa Bay got destroyed by the Cardinals. And in the process, Jameis Winston injured his AC joint in his throwing arm. So once again, there's something that could happen. Now, that's 3 weeks down the line, but there's another opportunity right there because Tampa has not looked as good as we thought they would in the beginning of the season. And, of course, the Chicago Bears sandwiched between the Packers and the Bucs game, the Bay of Pigs games. We will be facing a rookie quarterback making his, third start by that time? Third start? Yeah, so we have a good opportunity to make a run right here and do something. So this is an exciting time. This is probably the most optimistic I've been since the 2013 season. I saw a lot of positive things about Sunday, and of course, we're going to talk some more about the defense tonight. But first, let me start off by introducing myself and all the newcomers. I'm Alan Ulrich, and I've got my partner who was lip syncing and dancing to Back in Black, Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean?
And I'm doing fantastic. Can't tell you. Like the little intro to our show that appears on YouTube says, it was every bit a white-knuckle ride Sunday. And as Alan just mentioned, we're going to get into a little bit of this as the show goes on tonight, but I'm not really one of those, I guess, if you want to call it pessimistic people that are sitting going, oh, man, we allowed blah, blah points. Be very aware of false narratives right now. And I'll explain that further later. First of all, I want to pay the bills. We want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring our show. We want to invite everyone to join us each and every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for Under the Dome, where the Who Dat Nation begins right here. The number one fan-focused New Orleans Saints podcast. We thank all of you for joining us. Want to take a moment, wish two very special happy birthdays. And one is not that tall.
All right.
One is linebacker for the New Orleans Saints, Adam Bighill. His birthday was yesterday. I'm gonna give him a special shout out and hope he had an awesome day. Number two, 20 years ago today, my life as I knew it changed forever. Uh, my firstborn son was born today, 20 years ago. Jonathan Christian, my heart, my son. Love you with everything I have inside of me, son. I want to wish you a very happy birthday. Okay,
Very nice.
Now that we've got all of the and Jonathan, just on a side note, and our longtime listeners will probably understand this. I'll never refer to you as a rat bastard on the show. Moving along. About that game.
When it got to be 45-10, and I'm watching Lions players drop, I do this little good, bad, and ugly after every game. And, I'm queuing up this,
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
I mean, it's 45-10. We're destroying this team. So I'm like, oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm thinking we got this game in the bag. And speaking of bags, I'm watching, one Lions player after another drop and get, walked off of trainers. And I'm looking at Matt Stafford grab his ribs because we are just pounding this guy. And, I'm thinking about, the famous Philadelphia Eagles, Washington Redskins body bag game. I was about to start calling this the body bag game because I figured we were going to win this game 55-10 or something like this, and the Lions weren't even going to have 22 healthy guys left to field a team next week. And then all of a sudden, Jeff Triplett gets involved in the game and starts tossing flags left and right. Matt Stafford gets 2 touchdowns, and one of them, and you really can't fault these things. You would almost call them garbage points, except they happened earlier in the game. That one catch, I think it was Marvin Jones made that one. It was an incredible catch to keep your body inbounds. The ball is out of bounds. So, there's nothing Ken Crawley can do to stop that pass. And the other one is just, it was a perfect play to call against that defense, split the safeties, it's a touchdown there. So, yeah, 45-21, I'm sorry, 45-24. I can kind of see that, and it's still a positive game. It just got weird after that. The punt return, the BS interception that started the whole thing with
Fix you some Kool-Aid.
Nobody can hear him. Don't worry. Nobody can hear him. Nobody heard that.
Okay. You guys
Nobody heard that. Yeah, he's got to babysit a little bit off camera here.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your
No.
Look,
I mean,
look, that one touchdown that was it was over Crawley. That is absolutely one of the most phenomenal catches I've ever seen in my life.
You can't defend that. You couldn't defend that.
No, you can't. You can't. And I want to say this. There's been a lot of talk the past day or so about how this defense let Detroit look.
No.
Don't get the thought process crossed up here. I don't have any, all things considered. Yeah, now if you want to get to nitpicking, you can find things that need to be cleaned up, absolutely. But if you look at this in its simplest terms, there are maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks in the entire National Football League that are capable of producing you saw against us on Sunday. And by that, I mean your Tom Brady, your Aaron Rodgers, your Matt Stafford, you have to play them 4 quarters. And also just play them for 4 quarters. You have to play them nearly flawlessly for 4 quarters, or else you're going to see results that you saw against us on Sunday. Hey, Matt Stafford didn't get that reputation by not being able to produce under the gun.
No, and you saw all season long, the Lions have come back from so many games, and that's just their MO. Perhaps, the defense first off. Let's talk about the defense before we start nitpicking into the offense. The defense, and I posted this on Twitter probably, I guess about the time of the play where Craig Robertson stripped very Sam Mills-like, stripped Stafford of the ball. Sam Mills did the same thing back in 93 or 92. No. That was, I went to Disney World. I was on my way to Disney World. That was around Christmas time. I was probably 94. But he stripped the ball from Brownie Nagel and the Jets and ran it in for a touchdown. Basically, it was the same thing. He knocked the ball straight out of Stafford's hand, scooped up the fumble, and really, if he didn't stumble, Stafford's not in a position to trip him up and knock him down. He goes right in the end zone. So, I mean, you had that play. You had, of course, the sack fumble, strip sack fumble to start the whole thing off, Stafford. You have the incredible interception by Marshawn Lattimore, who returns that for a touchdown. I mean, the defense played lights out. The defense did all the things you want a great defense to do. Probably the most frustrating thing in the second half was, aside from the longest quarter in the history of pro football, it felt like that third quarter, because of injuries and penalties and so forth, it was frustrating because the Saints would stop them on first and second down. Then on third down, they would blitz, and the players would get behind the defense, and they'd pick up that first down. It didn't matter if it was 3rd and 12, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 17. They somehow managed to get those first downs to keep those drives going. And that was happening at the same time the Saints offense couldn't get a first down anymore. After they got that 45th point, it was like, we can't get a first down. We can't get anything going. Ingram hits a nice run. Holding call. Got to come back. Right before the pick six, because I'll talk about the punt return in a second, but right before that pick six that Ashawn Robinson got, Kamara got a nice run of 9 yards, drew a face mask penalty. So if you get, that gets you out of your end zone. That probably takes you up near the 30 once you get the penalty yardage tacked on. Now you have a chance to get some first downs, run some clock, because about 5-something left in the game. Run some clock, and even if you have to punt then, you're still up by 2 scores, and you got Morstead, who was an incredible weapon in this game, flipping the field on you. So that penalty for a horrible, horrible call against Josh Hill, who was just blocking I think it was a safety coming across, and just hitting and knocked him backwards, because guess what? A 6'5" guy can knock backwards a 5'11" guy. I mean, it's going to happen. It's physics. So they call, hitting a defenseless player, which made no sense. So now the Saints get the ball, half the distance to the goal. So they've won on the 3 or the 2 to within a score again. So you're right. This long, drawn-out explanation of what everybody already saw and knew, it's not on the defense. It was just breakdowns across the board.
Well, you have to also stop and consider our defense to produce a historic day results-wise. Our defense was on the field forever in that game on Sunday.
But believe it or not, I was going to say, but believe it or not,
upright.
Yeah, I was going to say, believe it or not, though, we actually won in time possession because we so dominated the first half. I mean, I think we had almost a 2-to-1 possession margin in the first half, and Breeze was like 13 of 15, and we were running the ball like crazy. You know, it was the 2011 Saints offense and the 1991-92 era Saints defense. It was an amazing combination for a half. But the defense kept us in that. Yeah, but the defense kept us in the game because they were bend, don't break, and they made the big plays when they had to.
Well, I kept my notes from last week and my where did I put them? My keys to winning the game against Detroit. Let me see. Stone cold crazy. Here we go. I had 4 keys to beating the Lions. First was to stop the run. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Detroit ended the game with 60 yards rushing. In the 60.
Yeah, 66.
66.
Yeah, 66. Mm-hmm.
Check. You got to win the battle up front. I think with 5 sacks, 12 balls batted down, passes batted down. I think that is safely assumed to be a check as well. And Mark Ingram rushed for over 100 yards for the first time in a year, give or take.
Well, first time this season, yeah, first time this season.
Okay, so check. Pressure Stafford. Apollo Creed couldn't have pounded on Matt Stafford any more than what Alex Okafor, although he didn't register a sack, Ikaha. And how about the man making his 100th start for New Orleans Saints on Sunday? He made it one to remember, Cam Jordan. This guy was everywhere and did everything.
Yes, he did.
Up to and including a Snapchat between Mark Ingram and Deion Sanders after the fact. He made a guest appearance there.
Well, he sealed the game. I mean, that batted ball and reception, for a touchdown was the play of the game. I mean, in a game that there was a lot of big plays, that was the biggest, because you could finally relax. There was just simply not enough time, unless something totally blew out of proportion, which, based on the way the defense was playing, that wasn't going to happen. But nothing was going to unravel the defense there. We sealed the game. It was under 2 minutes, and there was not much Detroit can do. Just a incredible performance by Cam Jordan in this game. The dunk. I don't care about the penalty. I don't think anybody cared about the penalty, because it was it just fit the game. It really did.
The only problem that I had with the penalty is twofold, and I don't really. It's not one of those things where I'm throwing stuff to emphasize my feelings on it. Cam Jordan, you're a leader in this team. You're in a game that is very much still to be decided, and you hurt this team.
I get that.
But at the same time, you're a leader on this team, and you just made what, of course, you couldn't have known it at the time, but what turned out to be the walk-off homer of the game, so to speak.
Yeah.
You just sealed the deal. You earned it, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Knock yourself out.
Here's go ahead.
100 starts in this league, and he has never missed a game with injury, with anything else. Cam Jordan has never missed a start in his entire career with the New Orleans Saints.
That's impressive.
I'll
that
take
really
15
is.
yards for that.
Yep, that's impressive. One of the things, and Chris Spielman did an excellent job breaking down this game. But one of the things one of the things he pointed out early, because Stafford had the bad ankle and the bad calf muscle, and then also his ribs were bothering him. He never took a snap under center. So for a running play, you either had to have the back in the pistol, or which is lined up behind him, or he had to be in a certain position on Stafford's, non-throwing side where he could kind of hand the ball off. If Stafford moved the back, it tipped off to the Saints that it was going to be a running play. Okay, if he moved the back to pick up a blitz or whatever. So I think the Lions helped the Saints defense a lot because it really revealed all their tendencies. They didn't have to worry about the play action pass because you couldn't really do a good play action pass. And with a practically immobile Stafford, it allowed the defense to really tee off on him. And you saw that. And I think that's why they called up so many blitzes, because the idea, and plus they were knocking passes down left and right, which made it easy because they learned from the lesson last time that Stafford's going to get this ball out quick. So if you don't have a clean run to the quarterback, get your hands up because the ball's coming right at you and knock it down. And I think all those things contribute to the great day the Saints defense is having. That being said, though, that's not to diminish what the Saints defense did. Because if this was a 2014 Saints defense or the 2015 Saints defense, even knowing all those tendencies, we still would have given up 1,000 yards and probably lost the ball game because they would make so many mistakes and do commit so many penalties. This team is playing faster and playing smarter. And you were seeing a lot of the mistakes that you saw against Minnesota, against New England, has sort of vanished now. Guys know their responsibility. Craig Robertson, you were talking about Cam Jordan. Craig Robertson played lights out too.
Absolutely. If I was to award game balls on defense, I realize that your rookie Marshawn Lattimore is having a fantastic rookie season, and that's duly noted. Cam Jordan had the game of his career, possibly, arguably, against. If I'm giving out game balls, I'm giving out two. One's to Craig Robertson, and one is Rip Gadget, my man Crawley. Because those two guys, if they don't perform to the level that they did, this game does not turn out that way.
No,
because
they don't.
Quarterbacks, as accomplished as Stafford is, he knows he's going to test Marshawn Lattimore. That's stupid. So you go to the next.
Yeah, something interesting. You just said that. I am surprised how few quarterbacks are going after Lattimore. And if Rodgers was healthy this week, I think they would target Lattimore. But where did you see them moving Golden Tate to? They put Golden Tate into the slot, not on the outside. He played the slot most of the game. Why? Because they knew they could win that matchup with Vaccaro. They weren't about to let Tate go one-on-one with Lattimore. That's amazing.
I'm eating on my chips.
That says a lot about the respect Lattimore has already generated. They knew the weakness of this defense was going to be, you're good, don't worry about it. I mean, you can hear my dog barking in the background here. But they knew that the weakness was going to be whoever was going to cover the slot receiver. So that was their plan. And it worked for a while. I mean, Golden Tate falls right into the Joey Galloway, Michael Haynes, Flipper Anderson, receivers that have killed the Saints in the past with these monster games. And Golden Tate just falling right into that same.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs this year. But it was a matchup issue. And, I could see.
Let me ask you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're an X's and O's guy. This is a thought process that I had on Sunday, and I wanted so bad to text you, but I knew you were watching the game. Can you tell me why Vaccaro is more of an enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that you're bringing into the box as your next linebacker to do that. Why do you leave him in position to get matched up on a guy that has wreaked so much havoc on your team? Why not change the alignment to possibly get a matchup with Marcus Williams, for example? Why do you work to Vaccaro's weakness rather than change your lineup?
Because they want Marcus Williams to sit in deep center field, a single high safety in this defense. If you watched, especially in the second half, you saw the Saints play a lot of tight man coverage. They were on top of these receivers from the beginning. And what they wanted to do at Vaccaro, in some cases, is blitz him. And they would end up putting Tate on Vaccaro. Now, here's the thing. You had three safeties out there playing. Marcus Williams is single high. You would put Bell and Vaccaro down in the box, so to speak. Sometimes Bell would drop back. Sometimes Vaccaro would drop back. And what the Lions were doing was whatever side they saw Vaccaro on, they moved Tate there.
Yeah.
Not up against Bell. So it's less what the Saints defense was doing, more what the Lions offense was doing to find their matchup. That was a matchup they knew they could win. Making
the adjustments at the line of scrimmage, in other words.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, they had Marvin Jones mostly going up against Ken Crawley. They didn't move Marvin Jones to Lattimore's side. They had him there in the beginning, and Lattimore knocked a couple balls down. So they're like, oh no, we'll put him on Crawley's side. So,
well, let me ask you this:
mm-hmm.
There's all these people, and you and I can have a personal moment that no one else understands. There's people that are screaming for Lattimore to be Rookie of the Year in some of the circles that you and I travel in.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about perception.
Mm-hmm.
Can you lend a little bit of levity to where Lattimore is at this point?
I mean, he's always going to be in the conversation. The better the Saints defense plays, and we've seen now 3 weeks of this, there's going to always be a yeah, but. Okay? Yeah, but you played an injured Stafford. Yeah, but the Dolphins stink. Yeah, but Cam Jordan wasn't at 100% and Kelvin Benjamin was hurt. Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing. Yeah, but the Bears started a rookie quarterback. You know, that conversation is going to be in there. And the other thing that unfortunately, he's a defensive player. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm just pulling them out as an example. Okay.
Bear with me, guys.
Yeah, you lost your picture there. The Kansas City Chiefs. You got it? Okay, good.
Just like Brett. How was I going to say Brett Favre? This live chat has got me messed up.
All right. Well, but I was going to say, the Kansas City Chiefs had the best record in the league. They were the only undefeated team until this weekend with the Steelers. So, you know, the rookies on that team, especially the running back hunt, you know, that it's always running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks. So Deshaun Watson's up there now. The offensive player or the rookie of the year is, you know, always going to attract the more glamorous positions. So that's the two reasons why Marshawn Lattimore doesn't really have a great chance of being Rookie of the Year. He might be Defensive Rookie of the Year, but overall, he's got too much of an uphill climb going against Deshaun Watson and Hunt in Kansas City, just because the voters and the fans and so forth just love offense, and the glamour position is always going to take that.
If you've got a game where a cornerback defenses 6 passes and a running back runs for 2 touchdowns and 100 yards and catches a swing pass for a touchdown, you're not even going to know what that cornerback did. This is an offense-driven league. I would venture to say that the only time you're going to hear about the defense is when they stop one on offense that was supposed to dominate them.
That's what I was going to say. Let's say Thursday night against the Falcons, Thursday Night Football, which is a nationally televised game in Atlanta. Lattimore goes up against Julio Jones most of the night, and he picks off Matt Ryan twice for 2 touchdowns and basically shuts down Julio Jones. That will draw the media's attention.
Unless Alvin Kamara has 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. But, I mean, let's just say that's the showdown for the NFC South title. Whoever wins that game is now up a game or is in the driver's seat not only for the NFC South title, but a first-round bye in the playoffs. Just throw that out there. Either the first, second seed, whatever. And Lattimore has that kind of game where he shuts down Julio Jones, picks off Matt Ryan twice, returns them both for touchdowns. Then people go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe we ought to talk about this guy in the context of Rookie of the Year. But the way Deshaun Watson's playing right now, that's going to be really, really tough for him to get in that conversation. And it's not a knock on him. I'm happy with that. Actually, I like the fact that teams and the media is kind of downplaying the Saints, because we always seem to do better when we're playing with a chip on our shoulder, or we play games and win games that they pretty much the whole media says, they're not going to win this game. They're not going to do anything. That's much more exciting. 2006. 2006 is a great example of that.
Absolutely. Everybody expected a first-year coach. At best, it'll be, first-year coach, post-Katrina, all new changes. They figured that the 2006 season would be a complete wash. Of course, they had completely, at that point in time, I feel like it would probably be appropriate to say that the national media, sports media, had completely written off Drew Brees as being a viable starting quarterback in this league because of the shoulder injury he suffered in San Diego. Given the Saints' long-standing whiffs with free agent signings, I can understand how that narrative might have been able to be passed off so easily. Make no mistake, in one you hit for the cycle, you knocked a walk-off grand slam home run with Drew Brees. He has so far superseded and exceeded anyone's expectations for what he would be able to do coming off of that shoulder surgery and rehab.
This is a no-brainer comment, but he's the greatest free agent signing in the history of the NFL. Bar none.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're going to say Reggie White going to Green Bay because that was a turning point for that franchise. But, you look at the Saints prior to 2006, you were 1-5 in the playoffs. You only had 5 winning seasons, or 5 seasons where you won more than 9 games in the history of the franchise. You were basically still a joke franchise. You just came off a 3-13 season. Your city's in shambles, and here come the Saints, and they go from being a feel-good story to actually being legitimate challengers to go in the playoffs and advance. We were talking about a game that got national recognition to me, the Dallas Cowboys game in 2006. 2 8-4 teams. You're playing Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Tony Romo's the talk of the country because, of course, he's a Cowboys quarterback. But also, it's the whole excitement. We've been waiting. The media, I should say, has been waiting for Dallas to reemerge after Troy Aikman. Tony Romo's the guy. This is all about him. They got Terrell Owens. It's a big star-laden team. And here come this cast of cast-offs and nobodies and rookies like Reggie Bush. They come in there and they don't just beat the Cowboys, they destroy them. And I have this game somewhere on videotape still. But you have, Al Michaels freaking out going, look at the guys that are scoring touchdowns. Jamal Jones, Mike Carney, he's got 3 touchdowns. Who are these people? That kind of thing. And that's I'm kind of waiting for that moment sometime during the season. This year, if this team becomes successful, to have that kind of moment where they beat an established team or a team that the media is kind of in love with on national television or on a major game if they flex us to a national televised game. And, they start going through, some of the guys that are, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, guys that aren't in the national conversation. Like I was talking about Marshawn Lattimore. And suddenly now people know who these people are. And that's a big moment. And I hope that moment comes. I hope we have that good of a season where we get that kind of moment where people just, we can say the Saints have arrived and they're also going to make noise in the playoffs. They're going to advance. That would be a great thing.
Well, yeah, I've always been one that said making the playoffs, that don't do it for me anymore. If you're making the playoffs just to be a one and done, why waste your time? Get your off season started on time. Go through your program. You don't just. If you had never won a Super Bowl, that would be an accomplishment. New Orleans, you've won a Super Bowl. Set the bar higher. It's not enough just to make the playoffs. You've got to win that game, and then win that game, and then win that game. And then stand on top of the mountaintop. If that's not the ultimate goal, if that's not the only thing that you're going to be satisfied with, you're wasting your time, and you're wasting the time of this franchise.
Well, one of the things they've been talking a lot about right now, because the second half of that game where the offense just, they went from being completely dominant. I was making jokes too, during the game. The Lions defensive coordinator is going, who the hell is this number 19 guy? We prepared for 13, damn it. Why isn't 13 getting the ball forced to him? How can 19 be running roughshod through our secondary like this? And Ted Ginn Jr. came out. And then you saw a touchdown pass to Who-Man. You saw, it's just a lot of things they weren't ready for. And the team looked unstoppable until about midway through the third quarter. And so now people are going back, looking at other games, going, okay, they struggled in the red zone against Minnesota. They struggled in the red zone again against New England. It took them a while to get traction in Miami against, in London against Miami. Is there something wrong with this offense? Is this offense a little out of sorts? I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, it's a little out of sorts because this is Armstead's first game back. You actually saw a lot of, you saw Pete and Armstead really making that left side probably the strongest it's been arguably since 2009 through 2011. You are seeing you get Willie Snead back involved in the offense. He dropped a couple of key passes that probably could have got first downs. The timing's not still not there yet, and you saw them roll coverage towards Michael Thomas and took away, kind of broke an informal streak he had going where he had caught at least 4 passes in every game he has played. But you also saw at the same time Alvin Kamara step up. You saw Ted Ginn step up. You saw, Mark Ingram have his first 100-yard game. So it's there. It's just little things that are happening at key times that they're going to work. They're going to work those kinks out. But statistically, they don't look that good. We were 2 of 12 this past Sunday on third down conversions, and usually we're like 9 of 12 on third down conversions. We fell behind in down and distance a lot. That's not a normal thing for us. And then, of course, like I said earlier, we struggled in the red zone. So we're like, I don't know, I think we're like 7th ranked offense or something low like that. Not as high as we usually are. So I think those things are going to work themselves out. The good thing is Drew Brees didn't have to be Superman to win this game.
Exactly.
Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees have something in common. Both of them have to be Superman all the time for their respective teams to win a game. He didn't have to be, and that's a good thing because he can be. We saw in that first half Drew Brees being Superman. He was like 13 to 15 passing. It's just the second half, and I was listening to somebody today talking about this. Kind of when you build up a 35-point lead, you kind of back off mentally. You're not playing with the same intensity you were before. So your concentration slips a little bit. And that probably was playing into the game in that second half. The way the offense was not as sharp as it should have been. I'm not worried about the offense. I think they're going to be. They will be better.
I agree. Anytime you've got Drew Brees, you have, and I hesitate to use this term because it offends me so greatly when I hear others in the media use it in regards to Brees. But when you have Drew Brees, you have the luxury of having Drew Brees and everything that goes with that. Have one of the very most cerebral and prepared quarterbacks going onto the field on Sunday that there are in this league. There is probably no one that prepares for a game the way that Drew does. And like you said, a 35-point lead at halftime changes the philosophy, which in a matter of speaking has a trickle-down effect in terms of the way that you call the game, the way that you group your players to go on the field and all of that. It affects the entire game, both on offense and defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't read into this game all the negativity that ups. And before I get all the nasty letters, I'm not being a homer. In my mind, you saw a frenetic comeback by, as I alluded to earlier, by one of the maybe 3 quarterbacks in this league that are capable of looking up at that scoreboard and seeing 45-10 and going, well, time to go to work.
Yeah.
I against just about any other team in the league, especially given the pounding that we were doling out on Matt Stafford. Hey, in our game thread that we have on our Facebook page every week, I made the comment they're about to pull Stafford, and the cameras that Fox were using, they were showing. I think when it got to be 45 in the Lions had
Yeah.
like a 3-and-out, and they showed the backup quarterback on the sidelines warming up. And I made the comment, "Hey, they're fixing to pull Stafford." And then they scored.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they scored. And
Yeah.
then they scored.
Well, and that was something that Chris Spielman kept saying. How long do you keep Stafford in this game, because they're going to lose this game? And of course, they made just enough plays that kept him around. They scored, and he got 2 touchdown passes, and he had a punt return for a touchdown. And suddenly now the game's in reach, so you can't pull him. But it's one of those things where it's one of those kind of games that I think the Saints didn't realize. No, that's not a good answer. I think it was one of those things where you feel like the game is in hand, and there was so much time left that the intensity disappeared, and that's why. And the offense was trying to get something going, and penalties, Mark Ingram fumbling, things like that kind of set them back, so they couldn't, and drop passes, and they suddenly couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get that first down, and that's something that's, for the whole time Sean Payton has been head coach of the Saints, I've always noticed that once the Saints get that first down, or that first, start getting a couple first downs in a row, then the offense is clicking and the drive starts going. It's getting that first one. Seems to be that's the challenge for them to get going again. So I'm not. I think Drew Brees was pretty angry after the game. He was not smiling. Yeah. He was pretty terse in his responses to the media. So, I'm not worried so much about this, because I think Drew knows I played like crap. I'm going to play a lot better this Sunday. This coming Sunday, for everyone who's wondering, I feel like this Sunday's game can be a trap game if we are not playing with the same intensity level that they really showed against Detroit. They got to play with that same intensity level again this Sunday, even though you're starting against a rookie, well, not really a rookie, but a first-time starter in Hundley. I just looked it up while you were talking. The Saints have only won one game in the entire 51-year history of the Saints. They've only won one game at Lambeau Field. That was in 2006, the second game of the season, the comeback against Brett Favre. For most of the Saints' time playing the Packers, they played the Packers at Old Milwaukee County Stadium. The Packers don't play there anymore. They used to play there a lot in the 70s and the 80s to kind of expand the Packers fan base. They play in Milwaukee, and they'd also play in Green Bay. But sometime in the late 90s, I want to say, they stopped playing in Milwaukee, and they started playing only in Lambeau Field. So just for what it's worth, they've won a couple games at Lambeau, but they had, at Milwaukee, but they've only won one game at Lambeau Field. So, Lambeau Field's not an easy place to play, even in October now instead of December. So it's going to be a challenge. And Mike McCarthy, former Saints offensive coordinator, being the Packers head coach, Mike McCarthy really made Aaron Brooks who Aaron Brooks was, designs a very similar offense to the Saints. And I have no doubt in my mind, because remember Matt Flynn, when Matt Flynn took over for Aaron Rodgers in certain games, Flynn threw 6 touchdown passes against Detroit in the final game of the season. He parlayed that into a major contract for the Seattle Seahawks. Huntley's going to be a good quarterback. Huntley's going to do some stuff. The Vikings made him look bad because he had to come in and play that game. But with a week's worth of practice and getting his timing down with these receivers, this is not going to be, especially because the Saints don't have any film on this kid. This is not going to be this easy game where, okay, we're just going to beat up on a rookie quarterback. This is going to be a game where we're really going to have to fight to make this kid make mistakes, and that's going to happen through a lot of pressure, make throws before he's ready, take away the easy reads, and make him hold on to that ball, just like we did with Stafford. You got to play him like you were playing an Aaron Rodgers back there. Don't play him like he's a first-time starter and it's going to be starry-eyed, because Mike McCarthy is not going to do that, and they're going to run the ball. They're going to try and run the ball a lot. So we got to stop that run and put the game on Hundley's shoulders. They've got dangerous weapons. It's going to be a challenge, a major challenge.
I was interviewed earlier this week, and they asked me, was this a trap? And I said, well, on the road with a team as young as the Saints, I don't think so. If you've heard any of the sound bites coming out of the Detroit game Sunday, what all these defensive players seem to be echoing as far as sentiment is, we're young, we're hungry, we want to show everybody that we're ready for this job. And you put yourselves on the map. You did something that no defense, up to and including the vaunted Dome Patrol, no defense in New Orleans has ever scored 3 defensive touchdowns in a game. So you got to put yourselves on the map. Okay, now you shocked a lot of people with what you did against Detroit, and that's a good thing. Now you got to get on with the business at hand. You got to win the game that you're supposed to win. Yeah, which will be Sunday.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be a cakewalk that everyone seems to want to believe. As Alan just alluded to, Mike McCarthy did not get his reputation in a gumball machine. He's earned it. He will have Brett Hundley with a game plan in hand and be ready to produce come Sunday. And you're playing in it may not be a frozen tundra. It's still going to be Lambeau Field. Now, what I did appreciate greatly was sitting here watching the game Sunday. What struck me just about more than anything was watching on Fox the game unfold and seeing just exactly how loud the Superdome had gotten to be once again. Mm-hmm. It completed the clean sweep of South Louisiana football over the weekend.
Well, I was worried it was going to reverse LSU-Auburn game for a little while, especially after that pick 6, because, in the old games, the old Saints of 2014 through 2016, Stafford goes 99 yards and gets a tying touchdown, does the onside kick, and then gets the field goal or something like that, and then thus becomes the greatest collapse in Saints history in a franchise that has done some major collapses. But we instead get that about 2 hours later in it happened. They were playing at noon too. We get that in Atlanta instead, where Atlanta blows a 17-point lead to the Miami Dolphins. And 2 weeks ago, they were making fun of the Saints going, oh, that's cute. Y'all think y'all back because y'all beat the crappy-ass Dolphins. Y'all shut them out. Yeah, we shut out the Dolphins. You lost to the Dolphins. After the Dolphins offensive line coach gets busted doing cocaine with a hooker. So that's awesome. Hey, man, cocaine and hookers. So, you got to live the life. So, yeah.
Man, I pulled my calendar up to make sure I wasn't in 1987 anymore. But
I think the joke when you saw that Miami Vice episode where, Tubbs and Crockett go and bust that assistant coach for doing cocaine with hookers Oh, wait, that really happened. Sorry.
Well,
So, yeah.
in the NFC South over the past weekend, the New Orleans Saints were the only team to come victorious. Thursday night, the Panthers lost, and on Sunday, both the Bucs and the Falcons lost. So we're making some headway. Right now, we're tied for second with the
Falcons, yeah. And we're half game, we're a half game behind the Panthers because they haven't had their bye yet, whereas the other teams all have. So yeah, it's on. I mean, you see how competitive this division is. How Carolina bounces back, how the Saints, if the Saints can keep this going. And remember now, Atlanta played their easier games early in the season. They played New England.
Yep.
And this is supposed to be the revenge game against the Patriots, but you're going in there knowing that. And this is what I'm reading this now from the fan base. You're seeing the Falcons fan base go, hey man, we barely beat except for a drop pass, we barely beat the Bears. A questionable call that went in the Falcons' favor helped us beat the Lions. We almost gave up that game. Both those games, those teams came back after they built a nice lead on them. And you've now lost to the Dolphins, blowing a lead. You lost another game blowing a lead. It was not that as big. I think it was a 10-point lead. So, they are seeing that Super Bowl hangover trend that keeps going. The offense stalls. It just can't keep the pace anymore. And the defense is giving up plays because they're built small and fast. And you see that team starting to get tired into the third and fourth quarter because the Atlanta Falcons offense just doesn't keep that defense off the field enough I'm not trying to help the Falcons to get better, but I mean, it's the two go hand in hand. The Falcons can't consistently run the football to run the clock out with power running. They're moving too fast, and the smaller defense that flies around and makes big hits and all these things are starting to make mistakes and get tired late in the game, get worn down, and they start giving up plays. So if you're patient with the Falcons, you will eventually win the game because they will make the mistakes that allow you back into a ball game. And you're just seeing that across the board.
That small, quick bumblebee type defense that you were just talking about, that works great when you've got a 30, 35-point lead by halftime. They can effectively run the table on you right there. But if you allow a team to stay in that game for that long, it's going to come back to bite you. When you're dealing with that type of defense.
Yeah, actually, you shouldn't have a 35-point lead by halftime. You should keep building that lead into the third quarter, so you can eventually get that team into a panic mode where they feel like they have to come back and they just run out of time, which is pretty much what happened with the Lions in their losses. They've kind of run out of time. They wait too long to kind of really get started and get focused. And that is how teams have been beating the Falcons. But anyway, we'll talk more about Atlanta, after when we go to play them. I think we play the first game on Thursday night, and I think we play them right after the Jets game the week of Christmas in the Dome, and then we go to Tampa to finish the season. I think that's how the season goes. So let me ask you.
Okay.
Well, I'm all about one game at a time anyway, so I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm just talking about the problems of the division. Let's just talk about the state of the team right now. And of course we're over, so let's kind of do this quickly now. Talk about the offense. Where do you think this offense is now, and where do you think you see this offense going?
To be honest with you, I think that the New Orleans Saints offense is a lot better off than what a lot of the talking heads seem to want to acknowledge or allude to. I believe that for better or worse, God bless Adrian Peterson. I wish him the absolute best in Arizona. Happy that he was able to do what he did Sunday, and I wish him nothing but the best from this point forward. But it was a distraction in New Orleans.
Absolutely.
In this offense, there simply is not enough touches to support the lifelines of three running backs. And in New Orleans, Adrian Peterson was never going to be that for the Saints. This offense was all about Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. For better, I don't believe that Adrian Peterson had a significant role to play in New Orleans. He very well could in Arizona, but as is here, it was not going to happen for him.
You know, and this is the only thing I got to say about Peterson. I still stand by my statement. He's washed up, despite getting 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in Arizona against the Bucks defense was terrible that day. They stacked the box, they packed it all in tight, and once Peterson got past the line of scrimmage, there was nobody there, so it was clear sailing to get big yardage. You know, he still was going down on one hit or whatever, but here's the thing about Peterson. As I put in somebody's comment one time, the Saints, a typical game, the Saints will run about 60 offensive plays, roughly. You know, we sometimes may get close to 70, sometimes maybe more like 55, just depending on how this game goes. If you take, I'm picking 60 for a reason. If you take, say, Drew Brees putting the ball in the air 30 times, okay, that leaves you 30 touches or 30 running plays, okay, that you're going to try and split among 3 backs. Now, if your argument is with Peterson that the Saints need to give him 20 carries, okay, for him to be effective, that means out of 60 plays, 30 passes is not excessive. That means that you have 10 touches or 10 carries left between Ingram and 5 each. That's not balance. That's not how this works. I used to say the same thing when people used to argue that Ingram needed 20 touches or 20 carries. The Saints have run 3 backs before, plenty of times. You know, you have to go back to 2009 with Pierre Thomas, Reggie Bush, and Mike Bell. 2011, we had 4 backs. We had Pierre Thomas, Darren Sproles, Mark Ingram, and Chris Ivory. We still managed to get touches because what we did was, and you saw this Sunday, where you saw Ingram going out and Kamara comes in. Kamara goes out, Ingram goes in, just like with the receivers going back and forth. Okay? And look what you got. The touches were pretty evenly divided between the 2 players. That's how this system works. Backs go in and out depending on down and distance, matchup situations, and so forth. And the backs have to be able to do multiple things. They have to be able to catch, run, and pass block. That's how the system works, because that way the defense can't key on a player and say, okay, the ball's going to go to this guy right now. Think about that 4th and short play. Typically, you got a fullback and a running back there. This time it was Kamara. The Saints had set it up pretty well by running Kamara up the middle a few times behind the fullback. So 4th and 1, you assume it's going to go either to Kamara up the gut, or, as the Saints have done in the past, slip it to the fullback to get that 1 yard. Brees hands it to the fullback. He pitches it out to Kamara, and no one's around, he gets around the edge, picks up 5 yards instead of a yard. That's the kind of things that happen. You want to give the defense a look, so the defense thinks it's going to be one thing. Then it becomes something else. Then they run the same look and they do something completely different. That keeps the defense off balance and allows the Saints to function, their offense to function. A player like Peterson limited that ability because he was not a guy who could tolerate 8 to 10 carries a game. That was the only way he was going to work in the system, and it just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. For lack of a better way of putting it, maybe the most appropriate way of approaching this, the New Orleans Saints offense, status quo, you only got room for one superstar, and in the New Orleans Saints offense, that's going to be Drew Brees, period.
Yep. Yep. The offense is built around Drew Brees and what Drew Brees does well. And everything else revolves around or works around what he does. The running game is supporting Drew Brees. The running game is not in place of Drew Brees. This is not a run-first team. This is a pass-first team. And as long as Sean Payton and Drew Brees are here, that's the way this team is built. That's the way they're going to play. So to be an effective player for the Saints is you have to be a back that can catch passes and run the football. And that's why Alvin Kamara is such a great fit. And when we didn't have a back like Sproles or Bush, you okay over there?
Yeah. I'm just getting old.
Yeah, no, we're going way over time here. So, but yeah, that's why Kamara has been such a breath of fresh air, because the offense is starting to work now because you've got a player like him. That Sproles, Bush, Pierre Thomas kind of player that really makes his offense go. More so than a guy who has to run the ball between the tackles and is just going to pound people. That's not what makes this offense work. That's not how this offense is built. As a zone blocking team that's the old Lombardi run the daylight approach. You need a back that can read and pick a hole and can do multiple things. And, that's the only way it's going to work. Real quick, defense. We've talked a lot about the defense. What is your feeling going forward on this defense? And we'll kind of wrap it up on that note.
I think that you have to number one, first and foremost, you have to maintain the focus and intensity that you showed on Sunday versus the Lions. If you go out there and you set the world on fire did against Detroit, and then you go into Lambeau and you stink up the joint and you get beat by a backup quarterback, right back to where you were coming out of the Superdome after the New England Patriots game. You're back at square one. You have to maintain what you've built and what you've established. Go in there just as focused as you were, just as prepared as you were against the Lions, just as intense as you were against the Lions. Otherwise, it could be right back to where we were a few years ago when we played the Philadelphia Eagles and they had nothing more than I'm drawing a blank now. Sam Bradford for a quarterback, and they absolutely blew us out.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at. If you think that going into Lambeau against Brett Hundley with a week to prepare is going to be a cakewalk, you're absolutely out of your mind.
Yeah.
This is a backup quarterback in National Football League. That means that he's one of the 64 best players at that position in the world. Don't take him lightly at all. And I think this defense is, from everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard coming off of that win, they're not satisfied. just like all these running backs that seem to be doing this after they make a yard and a half.
I hate that. I really hate
I do
that.
too. But my point is, rather than accomplishing what they did against Detroit and sitting back and going, well, we made our season Sunday. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that they're going to be more motivated by the results that they have. Because, and the thing about it is, you have a veteran defense out. You have a very young, very hungry defense out there. They're not going to just sit back on the laurels and say, hey, we've done what we came here to do. They are going to be very motivated to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. It's how do you handle success? And the Saints have finally tasted real success, not just getting to 500. You finally got over 500, for the first time in 1,000 days or whatever it was. How does this defense handle success? How do they handle rising expectations? Because our defense has always had the reputation of, if they could just get into the 20s, we can, if they could just hold on, make 2 stops. And what is it I said at the beginning of the season? The thing I'm looking for more than just giving up yardage or touchdowns and stuff is, what do you do in the giveaway takeaway ratio? I think we're still +6 in giveaway takeaway, and that's winning football. This team has to continue to take away the football. They have to limit the big plays, the explosive plays that get a team back in the game. Make them work, to get points. And if you can hold them to a field goal, that's a win. Get the sacks are glamorous, but what's more impressive are the hits and shutting down the run. So, you and then you force those tip balls, those tip drill passes where we get those turnovers. Those are the things that you need.
Do you think if Kenny Caro picks off a pass or picks up a fumble, his head's going to be swivel from now on? He never saw that guy coming and got clobbered.
Yeah, I know. The good thing was if the ball goes out of bounds. But, I mean, it's that kind of thing. They can't be satisfied, like you said. They can't be satisfied. Well, we're over 500. We had a great game against Detroit. Easy. No, it's not. It's the expectations are higher now. You have to go out and play even better. You're going to have to go out and prevent those garbage touchdowns. Keep the points per game lower. Get those turnovers, get the ball back to your offense, and let Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Mark Ingram, and Michael Thomas, and the rest do their thing. That's going to be the key. And then when Drew Brees is not Superman, like he wasn't Sunday, you go, okay, don't worry about it, offense. We got this. We'll win this game.
Yeah.
We're going to hold this team under 20 points. That was the motto of this Dome Patrol era. If we hold a team under 20 points, we should win the game. And that's our goal. We're going to hold this team under 20 points, and we're going to win this ball game. We've got this. And there's if anybody cares to look for the NFL highlights tape of from 1991 against the Eagles, when you had Reggie White and Jerome Brown and that whole crew, there's a shot of Torrey Cook saying, we got to get the ball back for our offense. We have to help our offense. We have to win this game for our offense. And that's where I want to see this defense go. I want them to be where they can say, we're going to win this game. We're going to get this game for our offense. We're going to make it easy for our offense. And once you do that, now you're talking about a team that's going to go somewhere in the playoffs, because that is what has been missing since 2009. Even as great as the 2011 team was, it couldn't get those turnovers. It could not generate those plays to win the game for the offense. The offense just overwhelmed people. And That was a difference.
It's funny because you see exactly. Bear with me. Okay, I coughed too hard. I lost my train of thought. I apologize. Anyway, I like what I'm seeing from this defense. And if you think about it, you have the possibility. Of course, it's a long shot. Anzalone, however, could turn. And somewhere on the horizon, you have the possible return of a Delvin Breaux. And from what I saw on Sunday, Delvin Breaux is going to have to compete for a job.
Well, you can't have too many good cornerbacks, and I look at it this way when it comes to Delvin Breaux. He will find a place on the team, whether he supplants Crawley or whether he becomes a nickelback. Whatever happens, Breaux is going to be out there again. But the good news is we're not sitting on our hands going, oh, my God, if we can just survive until week 8, and Breaux will come back and we can finally, maybe we can start stopping people or somebody can help Marshawn Lattimore. We don't have to worry about that. We have the luxury now of saying, okay, when Breaux comes back, we can work him into the team now. We can work him into the defense. We don't, and that I think was the difference between last year and this year. Last year, I think part of the reason why Breaux had such a bad season was we kind of rushed him back from that broken leg because we needed somebody to survive, just to handle these receivers because we had nobody. You had 5 guys who were either rookies or, undrafted free agents just trying to survive as cornerbacks. Now you've got experienced guys back there. Crawley's got the year on his belt, and he's starting to show why he was a good pickup. And, of course, Lattimore is playing lights out. It'll be a positive thing. So, yeah.
Another thing that I've really, going into Sunday, the biggest litmus test thus far was the Miami Dolphins. And everybody said, oh, Lattimore is playing lights out and Ken Crawley. And even I did. I made a tweet that had a picture of the two of those guys side by side. And it was directed at Detroit saying, pick your poison. And everybody said, hey, you need to slow down. This is going to be the biggest test for them going up against Detroit. And rather than coming out of that and having to back up and make apologies and regroup, I think that you're seeing that this defense is, while it may not be the number one defense, it's not the Denver Broncos, it's not the Kansas City Chiefs defense, but it's getting us to where the New Orleans Saints need to be. And as far as that goes, it shows signs only getting better from this point on. And I think that's a very, very positive moving forward.
Holy crap. I'm sorry. I just read something that's rather disturbing. Okay.
It wasn't that guy's uncle, was it?
No. It's something kind of serious. But anyway, yeah, I agree. And I think, I like this young defense and this team. Let's see each week how they top themselves, and that should be the goal of this defense. How are you going to top last week's performance? You shut out the Dolphins. How do you top that? Well, we knocked down 12 or 13 passes, and we get 3 defensive touchdowns. How do you top that? Well, we're going to sack Hundley 8 times and tie the Saints record. set way back in 1983 for most sacks in a game. Something like that. Let's keep topping it. We're going to hold an offense to under 200 total yards. Something like that. Just keep pushing that goal forward. So anyway, guys, thank you, guys and girls. Thank you for sticking with us. We went way over time as always. We went almost an hour and a half this time, but it's fun when we're winning, and there's a lot of good stuff to talk about with this team. It's a lot of fun compared to 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, counting the bye, when we were 0-2 and the team looked like it was 2015 all over again.
The sounds aside,
this is a lot more fun to talk about these games right now, and it will get better. I'm an optimistic person. I think it will be better. So guys and girls, thank you again for watching us, and tune in next week for another exciting episode of Under the Dome after we get a win at Lambeau Field. Good night, everybody.
good night.